Yeah, back for more, are you?
Yeah, you like what we do here, so clearly.
You can't get enough of the main big episodes. You need that little bump to get you through the week of a minisode of Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. Hello one and hello all.
A few friends of mine are like, the minisodes are my favourite. Can you do more? And I'm like, yeah, we can. Yeah, and here is one of them.
Yes.
We do them every second week. That's how the podcast works.
Watchers do, yes. So every second week it is a minisode, and every second minisode is a questions theme minisode. Liz and I do our best to tackle the questions sent in by you, our fierce and loyal readers. Sometimes our advice will be not good enough. Sometimes we don't know, and we can only do so much. So those of you that can and us and provide better help for a question that we flounder around, send it in so that we can then relay it on a future episode. We're not here when we make no.
We're not expert. The lawyers have advised us. They're in the corner nodding right now. They've advised us to say that we are not experts. But honestly, we've been doing this for years now. We know a thing or two. I like to say that my mum's a psychologist, which means that I've osmoted all of her. I didn't need to study for 8 years. I just know everything because I'm her daughter. That's the virtue. I'm great at this. But I'm very much not a psychologist, says the lawyers. So take the advice with a grain of salt.
That's right. And Elizabeth, the question here, I'm meeting my partner's parents for the first time.
Yay. Sorry, was that the right knee-jerk response?
and I'm super nervous.
Yep.
Any advice apart from panicking like Elizabeth just did?
Don't swear because you don't know if they're swearers. Don't swear until you know if they're swearers.
That's an interesting one.
Because depending on what generation they are, I've made the mistake of being like fucking something and immediately I was the vulgar girl. I would say be yourself, because if they don't like you, my God, it's going to be hard to keep the mask up if you've been someone else on that first date.
Yes,
yeah.
Right.
So I would be yourself, be normal as you can be.
Is there any wisdom to the idea that they probably won't love you the first time?
You probably won't love them the first time. So I think it's just kind of like having, it's the coffee with strangers thing where you just go and you do the best that you can in the situation. It's not your job to impress them. You don't have to, going by a previous episode, you don't have to play the role of good boyfriend, good girlfriend, good partner straight off. You just have to be who you are, and hopefully they will like that.
And sometimes your partner's parents, Jesus, sometimes your partner's parents won't like you in the end.
No,
you won't get along
if you try really hard.
And in your relationship, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the world.
No, as long as your partner has your back.
So I think show your best self, be as comfortable as you can with these people. Try not to be too scared of them. Just
be like, this is just a coffee with people that I'm meeting for the first time. How would you react if you were, you're not on trial. Just try and relax.
Yeah, you're not guilty for wanting to be interested in someone else.
No,
that doesn't make you.
Honestly,
you a bad person.
most of the experiences that I've had with meeting partners' parents is that they want to like you, because you know that most of there's a lot where that won't be the case, but they want to like you. You want to like them. You want it to be.
That's an interesting point. I think parents will more often than not will find a way to like you, or because they love their child so much.
Presumably,
that they'll want to then be like, yes, I want to. So more often than not, they'll look for positives in you.
If you assume that's the case, you're going to be better off than if you assume they're going to hate you, because then you'll get tongue-tied and strange and do dumb stuff.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
All right. At what stage, so this was in our Ghosts of Boyfriends Past group therapy group, a question was asked. So if you want to be in on this, join the group. At what stage in a new relationship do you have the big chat, like marriage, kids, basically bringing up your absolute non-negotiables? In a previous relationship, it was discussed far too late, and I'd already caught feelings for a person that I was absolutely not compatible with.
This is an interesting one, because anecdotally out in the world on websites and chat rooms and all that, I see an alarming amount of people, particularly women, say, oh my God, my husband of 25 years is anti-abortion or something like that, like a big obvious issue.
Values.
And I find myself asking the same question, like why wasn't that discussed in your relationship earlier? As to when Was that the question? When?
Yeah. At what stage in a new relationship do you have that big chat?
Gee, I don't know if there is one time to cover all global social political issues.
But your specific non-negotiables, like if you want children and they don't, that would be awful. Or if you really want to get married one day and they don't believe in marriage, or if you're a particular religion and they don't believe in God, I don't know. My best estimation, right, is once you become exclusive.
Yeah.
So once you're actually boyfriend or girl, like if you're meeting someone and dating, chances are these things come up when you're blind dating someone, right?
Yes.
So in this world of Tinder and Hinge and all of the other things, usually you discuss the non-negotiables kind of during those first few dates. But if you've been mates with someone for a while and get together, sometimes those conversations don't happen. So I think that as soon as you're actually boyfriend and girlfriend, you got to start a little bit of future chats.
Yes, I don't know about when specifically, but hedge for earlier rather than later. You have to, they're not issues, but they are, I'll use the term, they are issues that have to come up, that have to be broached, they have to, for the relationship to have any
I think
chance.
a lot of people are scared to bring them up because they're like, what if this person doesn't want the things I want? Well then...
Better finding out now.
It's a win-win situation to talk about it at the start. Absolutely. We've got producer Dom who's filling in for Zane today, wanting to chime in. Dom?
I just have one note, which is to make sure that it doesn't happen in front of other people.
Yes,
make sure that you don't just like mention it offhand and then have your partner next to you at like a dinner party or something. Be like, oh, actually, I don't agree with that. Make sure if it's something that matters,
point.
make it be a personal thing.
Excellent point, Dom. Absolutely, because the number of times when they're like, oh yes, we're going to have 2 or 3 children, and someone's like, actually, I don't want kids. Like this is a conversation between partners only.
Anything to avoid that conversation in the car ride home from an event. Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, if someone is scared off by the fact that you want marriage, then they're not your person because you want marriage, and that means they don't, and you find this out sooner. It is a win-win situation. It may not feel like a win-win at the time because you feel like you've lost something, but you never really had it in the first place if you don't have the same life goals.
Getting data is always a good thing. Receiving information is always good.
Absolutely.
It might not be the information you want to hear at that minute, but sometimes in the long run, it certainly will be. Gee whiz, good question. Great question. Elizabeth, what are some dating and relationship green flags? What are the good things? We always talk about red flags. What are the green flags in relation?
I had a first date recently.
Oh my God, sound the alarm, everyone. Gird your loins.
And one of the green flags for me was that this person was telling me stories that demonstrated that they had empathy. And it wasn't even that, it was a particular thing they were doing right, but in discussing stories of what had happened to them in their life, they demonstrated a really warming capacity for empathy, which made me go, okay, well that's a really good sign. What else?
A big one for me is when you see. So oftentimes you'll think of a couple as one entity, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. You see how well they get along and they share hobbies and interests. Yay! But a green flag for me is when that couple will have 2 completely different lives.
Love it.
2 different hobbies, separate friendship groups at time. I'm not saying all the time, but and then they come back to rejoin forces. You don't have.
Not being attached at the hip, but still choosing each other. The ability to have separate lives in a healthy way.
You don't want to be sitting at home watching the clock, waiting for the other person to come home to then give your life more meaning.
I've literally broken up with someone before because I felt like they didn't have anything outside the relationship and I couldn't handle that pressure.
You want to know.
I don't want to be someone's everything.
You want to be able
a bonus.
Put your feet up of a night and know that they're out doing an activity with friends and other things. That's a nice thing to know.
Yeah. What else is a green flag? I tend to think that if people ask questions, if there's a good ratio when you just start dating someone of not just talking about yourself but asking questions. And the best green flag for me is when you're having chats with them and there's no gaps in the conversation. Like you're able to riff in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're grasping.
And time loses its structure a bit. Yeah, time can wander on and go forever. Very nice. I'm sure readers at home will have green flags from
I'm
their
going to
own
write this
relationships.
down as a question to ask in the group, because I would like to know what other green flags people have come up with, because it's really interesting knowing what is a green flag for them, because we do discuss red flags a lot.
I'm sure that our listenership is more than just people that are single that want to hear about other people's relationships falling apart. I'm sure we have readers who are in long-term, committed, healthy relationships.
What were the green flags that made you go yes?
Send in your green flags. Why not mix up the bunting a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. It's nice to have sometimes not quite so angry all the time. Red. I have one last one to close us out with.
Okay, Elizabeth.
What is some advice? So this is another one from our Ghosts of Boyfriends Past group therapy group. So what is some advice if you haven't dated in years and are really nervous and you have trust issues and some walls up?
Gee whiz.
Now, I had a really good idea when I was reading this one. We had an episode quite a bit back called Tilly and All the First Dates.
Yes.
Now, we had a lovely person on called Tilly who was describing, she goes on dating as a bit of a hobby. So not because she doesn't want to get involved, but because she likes meeting new people. And the advice that she had was to treat it all like a meeting, like a coffee. It's not, don't put expectations of it. Treat it like you might be meeting a potential new friend, because if you don't put the weight of dating onto it, then it's not as scary.
Yep, I agree
It's not
with
as
that.
scary.
There's another thought where if it's been a long time since you've last dated or dated someone, reassess what your wants and needs are in the future point. Those things, those desires, those needs out of life, the wants you want, might have changed since you last dated. So to get in touch with all those things, and you might be like, oh, I'm looking for X, Y, Z, and that might put some reassurance on your shoulders. It's still going on a date and meeting a stranger for the first time is nerve-wracking. It is a nervous thing. It's a hard thing to do. Not many people can just rock up to a complete stranger and just have it out with them, mishmash over a coffee.
I like to think of it as a pool analogy, right? So when you first get into the pool or in the ocean, you kind of dip your toes in, and it can be a bit cold and a bit like, ooh. Then you kind of wade in a little bit deeper, and then you go, okay, I'm going to go past the junk. Like when you get to you're like, it's scary, and sometimes it's really cold, and then all of a sudden you find you're up to Nips area, and you're like, it's like when you're diving into a relationship, it's very similar. You don't have to go straight into doing a bomb dive straight in. You can kind of take it easy, and then when you feel ready,
when you're nip deep,
when you feel ready, you'll know when the time is to go nip deep.
It might be too late to try and save the dry costume that you're wearing. There we go. Well, there was another one I was thinking of. Oh yes, listen back to every episode of Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. And the shitstorm of crap dates that we've uncovered on this here podcast,
it will make you feel better.
There are some honking bad dates in our history.
And the best thing is, right, whenever I go on a date now, I just think if it's garbage, how good a story is this going to make for ghosts? So if you go on a first date and it is garbage, write in. We will make you feel better.
Consider it research for you're a love scientist out on the front lines doing taking in data.
Please contact us on social medias.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with any of your date experiences. We want to share the highs, the lows, absolutely everything with you. So there's no downside to a garbage date, because we can help you, laugh at the ridiculousness of whatever the fuck happened.
We'll be here.
In the meantime, if you'd like to be on a main episode, go to that'snotcanon.com/Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. If you've written in and not heard back from me, check your junk mail or email us through again at justghostsofboyfriendspast@gmail.com.
Otherwise, a little review goes a long way. So we thank you for tuning in and sharing the show if you do with others.
And we'll see you next week for a main episode.